Okay, so today we're going to chat about what kind of skills does a gaming community manager require, and this is not going to really go into too deep into sort of educational background or predispositions in terms of just like the environment that you're in, because my background of becoming a community manager as my first job never really was dependent on my education or my country or my environment overall. So one of the things that I consider a good community manager having as a rule of thumb is mostly to do with communication and organization skills. And communication is pretty easy. You simply need to be very clear in terms of what do you mean and what do you want to say to whichever audience you're trying to address. But organizational skills is more referring towards being able to tell people how you feel about a certain thing, and for them to listen and to actually be organized in a certain way after that. And that could be organization of thoughts, that can be a physical organization within the game or whatever it is. And that way you could basically not manipulate, but dictate how your community behaves. And so one of the examples was very early on when we were trying to figure out what kind of events we want to have in our games. And we clearly had this ambition in Dust 514 where we had massive scale universes and everybody was on one server and everything was very sort of like embedded together. And we really wanted to kind of explore the way of everybody unifying together and working together towards one common goal. And eventually that became a million clone challenge, where basically players were asked in a certain amount of time to destroy as many, to make as many kills as possible on the whole server together, which led to incredibly unforeseen solutions to the problem. But that was the part of the joy and fun of the whole experiment. But the way we came up to that idea and that event was heavily dependent on the style of the game and the way players were talking about the game and the way players viewed this game. You know, we had always this motto saying one universe, one war, and that was what we really wanted to sort of project on the players as well. And so again, those skills are something that you need to hone on, and listening to the players. What do they want to get into the game? What they're missing, and what kind of improvements you can see. But not also communicating just that to the developers, but taking that into consideration yourself. And as a criticism, as a positive feedback, as a negative feedback, or whatever it is. But the third most important skill that actually somebody just mentioned in Discord was a thick skin. And the community manager is nothing without having an ability to take criticism and then run with it in whatever manner possible. And I do not mean thick skin in a way of, suck it up and deal with it, but in a way of actually understanding what your community means when they try to offend you or when they try to be angry. Being able to understand the reason behind the anger of your community and the players that are playing your game is essential, because instead of just banning the player for being rude or for breaking the rules on a certain platform, try to first understand why that is. And If the player has like a history of bad behavior, that's completely a different case. But if you are managing to, in whatever way it is, to provoke that kind of reaction, you need to think about what is the actual reason behind that. And so psychology comes into play. Try to understand their perspective, put yourself into their shoes, and try to analyze the situation from that angle, and then come up with a solution and a communication method to either do a damage control, as some people would label, especially PR and communications people, but more than just a damage control, try to put also the perspective of the game maker as well into that rage. So instead of just ignoring the rude messages, try to face them and try to have still a reasonable and meaningful conversation with those people. Because more often than not, people that are in the moment angry at you for some reason, if you put the reason if you put the reason from a different perspective into their mind, they're going to appreciate it more and actually cool off. And in return, what you're going to get is actually a build of loyalty and trust from that player and that community. And especially if it's a public square where they're trying to voice their opinion, it is crucial that you publicly face that and try to direct the narrative towards a constructive criticism or constructive discussion. So to me, those are the three key pillars. It is not social media management. It is not marketing. It is not many of those things as you start your community management career. So once you start building those skills and once you start like just understanding what players want and what players need, you are going to naturally evolve into much more kind of just efficient human being in understanding all of these other human beings. And that is extremely useful skill on so many other levels than just staying as a community manager. It can be used in so many different perspectives, as you know in my previous videos, becoming a game producer has a lot of challenges as well, where you need to talk to the developers every single day and try to understand their perspective and try to understand why they don't work well with each other or what their problem actually is, and coming down to the root cause of a certain issue and trying to solve it, the root cause, and preventing it from ever happening again is extremely valuable skill. And that is not tied to a certain role or a certain training or a certain education. That just comes naturally from dealing with human beings, either online or offline. And a lot of people do miss that. A lot of people do not have that capability of understanding the background and digging deep into the whole root cause and solving the root cause first. And so that is basically what I believe. And obviously it is one man's opinion and you don't have to listen to me. But based on those skills, those three core ones, you are going to set off to be one of the most efficient and one of the most likable community managers in your game community. No matter if it is a AAA or if it's an indie game, it is essential for you to start there. That is your beginning. That is your ground zero of skills that you need. Of course, written English language or whatever language you're covering is also very important. And English is not my native language. I've learned English over time, over the course of 20 years. And I learned it because I knew that is going to be the language that I'm going to be communicating in most of the time. So yeah, that basically sums up the skills portion of the initial stage of the community management. And Do let me know if there is any other feedback, if there is anything else that you would like to find out, and I would do my best to upload it.